of producing the environment to remove everything that hinders love so that there's purity in his church and love is abounding. That's the whole point. Top of page 19. Okay, let's look at the negative people and the negative events. Obviously, the Antichrist. But I don't think we really understand the depth of evil and power this man will have. He, again, I liken him to Adolf Hitler, but so much more intelligent, so much more winsome, so much greater resource, military, plus the whole host of demonic powers at his disposal, working in him and through him. Be the most powerful evil leader in history. But the Lord is raising him up to create the environment for the harvest and for the church to be purified. He will have a 10-nation confederation, which that will give him the greatest military resource in history. No other dictator or evil leader in history had the military resource of this 10-nation confederation, and then many other nations will join him as well. He'll use demonic miracles to deceive people. But more than that, he will have political processes. He'll be over the political machinery of various nations where he can create the legislation to kill people who resist him. Then he'll have the economic oppression of the mark of the beast. So he has a large military resource of the 10 nations. He'll have the demonic miracles to deceive. He'll have the legislative processes to kill people against him. And then the economic oppression to the mark of the beast. I mean, this is pretty intense power package to influence the earth. But it's all going to backfire on the devil. Because God's going to end up bringing 1 billion people to him and purifying the church. And the first commandment will be in first place. And Jesus will have a purified bride ready for him when he returns. Paragraph B, the other negative person obviously is the false prophet. He'll lead a worldwide religious network devoted to causing the nations to worship the Antichrist as God. The false prophet, most of you know this, will have demonically empowered speeches. That's why it's called a prophet. He'll be a messenger. He will be so persuasive, and there'll be miracles backing up what he says. And then he will implement the mark of the beast system, the economic system of the mark of the beast. That will be under his influence as well.
Elon Musk and the new Department of Government Efficiency from accessing the Treasury Department's central payment system, which is containing the private data of millions of Americans. This comes in response to a lawsuit filed yesterday by 19 state attorney generals, including Minnesota's Keith Ellison. The judge ruled that the president and the Treasury Department secretary violated federal law and ordered anyone given access since January 20th to destroy anything that they have downloaded. A hearing is scheduled for next.
How do you see warfare transforming in the future? I mean, the biggest effect, I think, by far is AI and drones. So the next, well, in fact, the current war in Ukraine is very much a drone war already. It's sort of a contest between Russia and China to see who can deploy the most number of drones. Now, if there's a major power war, it's very much going to be a drone war. It's going to be drones and AI, and it's a sort of. I mean, I do worry about the existential risk of AI, which is that if you employ AI and drones, do you go down this path where eventually you get to Terminator? Try to avoid that.
Texas after this to launch the Cybertruck.
Yeah,
it's going to be a big launch. But I wanted to ask you right now, more broadly, just about the car business and what you see actually happening. And specifically, the government put in place lots of policies, as you know, to try to encourage more.
Blocked Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, from accessing Treasury Department records that contain sensitive personal data such as social security and bank account numbers for millions of Americans. A preliminary injunction was issued after 19 Democratic attorney generals sued Donald Trump. The case filed
on the chopping block is the Department of Education. Just earlier today, Democratic members of Congress were blocked from entering the department's headquarters. Democratic lawmakers had met outside to protest Donald Trump and Elon Musk's plan to abolish the department.
Free rein he has given to Elon Musk to dismantle our federal government. But one federal judge early this morning pushing back, blocking Musk and his, quote, Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, from accessing sensitive Treasury Department records.
System of the mark of the beast. That will be under his influence as well. We've already mentioned paragraph C. A negative event will be the raising up and the bringing together of this 10-nation confederation. This will be the basis of the Antichrist military and political might. It won't be limited to 10, but 10 will be his core leadership team, so to speak. Paragraph D, one of the great catalytic events that will, it will cause the things to increase dramatically, will be the head wound of the Antichrist. He will have a head wound. My guess is he will announce it ahead of time. He'll have the head wound, and this head wound has two applications. And I don't want to go into this right now, but it will be him personally with a head wound, and it will be one of his nations, his empire, is one of his heads as well. It will be wounded and recover. There's a twofold application to this head wound, but let's focus on the physical man himself in the head wound. It says in verse 3 that one of his heads, that's one of his national governments, as if mortally wounded, was healed, and all the earth will marvel. But the other descriptions make it clear that it's his head wound personally. And my guess is it's both of them together. That's my conclusion. The head wound has two applications. My guess is that
we have not called yet. Michigan, the race there, too close to call. And now we have a projection. 7th president-elect of the United States. Kelly O'Donnell's with us. Ryan Noble's with us as well. We need to underscore this right now, right?
Yes.
Because this is the moment that NBC News has, our decision desk has projected that he is, in fact, the winner. We've been talking about it for hours.
99% confidence rating. We don't call it until we hit there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
we project.
It's
an extraordinary political achievement.
Especially, Kelly, when you consider where he was just 6 months ago. Here's a man, first of all, when he's sworn in January, he'll be the oldest ever at 78.
And remember when that was a thing, this election season.
Right. Survives 2 assassination attempts. Oh, by the way, he's a convicted felon. And here he has risen from the ashes yet again.
The moment in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he was bloodied and rose and raised his fist and said, fight, 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 might be the metaphor of this entire political experience for him. He has come back in a way that, remember, he had a busy, busy primary because his own party didn't think they were going to stick with him. The damage done by January 6th has fallen by the wayside.
He'll announce it ahead of time. He'll have the head wound, and this head wound has 2 applications. And I don't want to go into this right now, but it will be him personally with a head wound, and it will be one of his nations. His empire is one of his heads as well. It will be wounded and recover. There's a 2-fold application to this head wound, but let's focus on the physical man himself in the head wound. It says in verse 3 that one of his heads, that's one of his national governments, as if mortally wounded, was healed, and all the earth will marvel. But the other descriptions make it clear that it's his head wound personally. And my guess is it's both of them together. That's my conclusion. The head wound has 2 applications. My guess is that he will tell the earth ahead of time, or at least tell his leadership team, like mimicking Jesus. Jesus told his disciples, I will die, and in 3 days I will raise from the dead. I'm guessing he will say, I will die, and then I will be raised from the dead. And then when it happens, he will say, Jesus of Nazareth, 2,000 years ago, was an imposter. He didn't die and raise from the dead. That was all a story. I did. I told you, and you saw me do it. They will believe in him as the true and the only Messiah who died and rose again. And they'll say, no, we saw it with our eyes, and that 2,000-year-ago fable, of the guy, Jesus from Nazareth, that didn't really happen. That's why he will be the Antichrist. He will have the whole storyline similar, not exactly, but they'll be parallel to the storyline. Paragraph E. The image of the beast, some called a statue, some called an idol. It's an image. I'm guessing it's a mix. It probably has sophisticated technology beyond anything we're thinking right now. Whatever we're thinking, technology is going to be more sophisticated. It'll be the state-of-the-art holograms and artificial intelligence and demonic power at a level we can't even imagine right now. And this image will look like it can think, talk spontaneously, reason on the spot, like a real live person, this image, and it can breathe, and it will even make laws that will enforce the death of the people who resist the Antichrist. So this hologram, artificial intelligence, robotics, plus 5 more elements brought together, looks like it talks, breathes, speaks, sets legislation in order. It will be a miraculous realm, and the main image will be in the temple in Jerusalem. The Antichrist will march in that temple, set up that highly technology-driven, state-of-the-art image in that temple, and say, this image is representing me. My guess it will look just like him. My guess is it will look like him in person, talking and prophesying and doing all these things. That's just a guess with the state-of-the-art technology of where it's going. This is a very, very important reality because I have here in paragraph E at the bottom, it's mentioned 10 times in the book of Revelation. I don't know that anything is mentioned 10 times. I haven't actually counted it all up, but very few things would be. That would be a good assignment for somebody to take on. You know, what other factor in the book of Revelation or act has been mentioned 10 times in those 22 chapters? I don't know. But that tells you how important. This is not a secondary thing. My guess is as well, I don't know this for sure, that there will be Antichrist worship sanctuaries all over the earth. Because everybody will be required to take the mark of the beast and worship him. And I think, my guess, there'll be a hologram of the Antichrist looking like he's actually personally there. Talking, breathing, prophesying to the people with false prophecies, with demons involved. It will be so convincing. Billions of people around the earth will be engaged in Antichrist worship. I'm guessing in their local Antichrist worship sanctuaries connected to Jerusalem. That's just a guess. But for the whole earth to be captured in it, it has to be more than what we would just naturally think of, just kind of thinking about it for a few moments. I think it's far more sophisticated than we imagine. Paragraph F, there's the mark of the beast. I think this will be high tech as well, with elements of artificial intelligence in it as well, and really high level technology beyond even what we're thinking today. I don't think it'll just be like a stamp on the hand. I think it'll be far, far more sophisticated than that. You know, with biometrics, technology, all those things that are beyond what most of us understand. It will be used to identify those who worship the Antichrist, we know, but it will also be necessary to have this chip, this embedded, a chip type thing. It's probably more than that. That is be required to have access to the global economic system. Those that refuse can't buy or sell. Those that refuse will be viewed as criminals of the state, guilty of the death penalty. The reason, because the earth will be moving towards a unified world government. It will never actually make it, actually. He'll have a presence in every nation, but the Antichrist won't actually dominate every nation. He comes up short of that. But he'll have a presence in every nation. Just like, again, Hitler had the Nazi regime in various nations, but never could dominate some of those nations. They kept resisting him, but he had a presence in them, but it was constantly contended, and he never actually established it, but it was because it was pushed back. Several of the nations would be in that category. And so he doesn't ever achieve world dominion, though he has a presence and an influence in every nation to some degree. Some nations more than other nations. But the conversation of the earth will be, hey, we're moving into a place of world unity. We don't have to have wars anymore. And anybody that resists this would be viewed as a criminal of the state because they're stopping the process to bring world unity. And of course, the people resisting it will be the prophetic church, saying this is of the devil, this is of the devil. And people say, what is it with you guys? We're finally getting unity. We're finally getting economic prosperity. Wars have really dialed down since this guy's been in power. Why are you guys just never, ever happy about anything? I can picture it already. Top of page 3.
The problem for home studio owners like us is that our bedrooms, our rooms were not built for audio production and sound accuracy.
Paragraph G. The abomination of desolation. Now sounds like a complicated thing. It's actually quite straightforward. It's the abomination of desolation. It means in one sentence, it's when the Antichrist walks into the Jerusalem temple and declares himself as God. That's the great abomination. And so there's two elements. Well, first of all, the Jerusalem temple is going to be rebuilt. It's not built yet. There is no Jerusalem temple yet, but it will be rebuilt in the days to come. Of course, in Israel, there's conversation and quite a bit of energy amongst religious groups to start rebuilding it soon. I mean, there's a lot on the internet of the energetic dialogue. I don't know how long before they do it, but they will eventually do it. And the fact that there's so much energy that's being generated is also a sign of the times. Because there wasn't that energy 100 years ago or even 50 years ago. There's two elements to the abomination of desolation. So you're not confused by this term that seems a little cryptic and mystical. It's quite straightforward. The two elements are the image of the beast and the mark of the beast. Now remember, the image is the statue, and the mark is on the hands of all the worshipers. So the image is not the same thing as the mark, obviously. Paragraph 2, when it calls it the abomination of desolation, the abomination is, that's a great evil. What is the great evil? What is the abomination? The abomination is really two things. Paragraph 3. The abomination is the Antichrist going in the temple and saying, I'm God. That's the abomination. And then demanding the earth to worship him as God at the penalty of death. There's never been a law with this kind of global scope to make somebody worship a demonized man as God. And the fact that he'll have so much military resource and economic power behind him, that makes it the great abomination in human history. So the first part of the abomination is that he says, I'm God, and I'm going to use all of my military, economic, and demonic miracles, that resource, to enforce it, and the death penalty. The other part of the abomination is that millions actually do it. And there'll never be a time in history, never has been or never will be after, where so many hundreds of millions, I think probably several billion, will worship a demonized man as the true God. Never in history will there be such a situation like this. It will last for 3.5 years. Maybe 1 billion or 2, maybe more. The numbers are staggering. They will worship this man as the Genesis 1 God. There's never been that level of an abomination in history. So that's what it is. It's an abomination. He declares I'm God and forces everybody to worship. Of course, many don't, but he tries to use his power. And the abomination is the millions, hundreds of millions, billions that do. And this abomination will lead to desolation. In other words, destruction. It's an abominable act that leads to destruction. Now the destruction, paragraph 4, will occur in two different ways. The desolation. If you don't worship him, he will come after you to destroy your city, your nation, or your family. He will come after you with desolation to destroy you. If you refuse to worship him. If you do worship him, God is coming after you with desolation. Either way it goes, the fact that this abomination is established in the nations will end in desolation one way or the other. That's why this prophetic, cryptic title is called The Great Evil That Leads to Great Destruction. The abomination that leads to desolation, or the abomination of desolation. This is the only political event, it's a political religious event, that Jesus actually identified. He said, when you see it, you know that it's all, the Great Tribulation has begun. When you see that man who made peace in Jerusalem, set up the Middle East Peace Treaty, when he walks in the temple, kicks out all the Jews, betrays Israel and says, hey, Israel, I don't really like you guys, and I'm not going to let you worship in your temple like I promised you. Matter of fact, I'm going to make you worship me or I will kill you. He'll pull his mask off, betray Israel. Jesus said, when that happens, when you see that, know for certain that the Great Tribulation has begun. That is the definitive sign of the Great Tribulation. Okay, paragraph H. Let's look at another series of events. This is referred to as the 3 numbered judgment series. There are 3 judgment series in the book of Revelation, and they're numbered. There's 7 seals. There's seal number 1, no, seal number 2, seal number 3. So it's a numbered judgment series, the seals. But there's a second numbered judgment series, 7 trumpets. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, all 7. There's a third numbered judgment series, the 7 bowls. So those are referred to by some as the 3 numbered series of judgment, or the judgment series, the seals, trumpets, and bowls. Number 1, these judgments are targeted at, this is key to get, they're targeted at destroying the harlot Babylon and the Antichrist. If you don't get that, you think they're just randomly loosed on the nations. These judgment series it's God's arsenal from heaven striking, using the historical analogy, to destroy the Hitler regime, the Nazi regime. These judgments are miracles, power released from heaven, very similar to the 10 plagues of Egypt. When Moses marched into Egypt, he released 10 miracles against Pharaoh. Now the believers saw those as miracles and went, yes. The unbelievers saw it as judgment and said no. When you read the book of Revelation, these 3 judgment series, these are destroying the Antichrist empire. These are good. We say yes, the Hitler regime is being destroyed. So you don't read those and go, oh no. You read those and say, God is driving evil off the earth step by step. And I believe that the judgments in the seals and the trumpets are going to be released. Jesus will release them. He's the ultimate greater Moses marching into Egypt, but it's global now. And the end time Pharaoh is the Antichrist. And the 10 plagues of Egypt are now the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and the 7 bowls. If you study those 3 series of 7, you will find many of them are very similar to the 10 plagues of Egypt. And by the way, that's intentional. That's not accidental. That's not something a few people figured out and went, wow, that's the secret. Many, many, many commentators point that out. That the plagues in the book of Revelation are very similar to the 10 plagues of Egypt that were against Pharaoh, but these are against the end time Pharaoh. Matter of fact, if you read in Revelation 15, it says, and they sing, all the saints around the throne, the song of Moses and the song of the Lamb, because it's the Moses story and the Lamb story merged together at the end of the age on a global level. It is the Moses story again. The reason we care about that, it changes the way you interpret these judgments. You don't look at them and go, oh no. You look at them and saying the Nazi regime is being destroyed by supernatural power. I mean, what if in World War II, all the nations the Allies were attacking Hitler and trying to stop him. What if supernatural power from heaven was striking him? It wasn't a nuclear bomb, but it was literally from heaven. That would have shocked the earth. Well, that's coming. It will be a story that we'll be talking about it forever. We will sing the song of Moses and the song of the Lamb forever. It's an unbelievable, well, it is believable. It is indescribably glorious story. So I don't look at these and go, oh no. I look at these and say, yes, the book of Revelation is really the end time book of Acts. It's the miracles destroying the evil regime released by the praying church under the leadership of the greater Moses, Jesus, destroying the Antichrist from heaven because no army can destroy him. So we're praying and God's sending missiles down from heaven in those various ways. Well, not missiles, but you know what I mean. The water turning to blood and all these things, destroying his resources. These
She's still hanging. She's still hanging. She's